everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Pat.
How are you?
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Julio.
Hello.
Howdy.
Howdy, ho.
有我也是，没有。
Well, why are we getting them now?
So Julio, I have 6:30. I'm going to start the webinar.
Got it.
Gregorio or Gregorio Mendoza.
And can you make me a co-host when you have a moment?
No, déjalo ahí. Ok, gracias.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Or I
Hello.
guess maybe it's still good afternoon. I'm not sure. Happy winter solstice, the longest night of the year. The good news, it's only uphill from here. The days start to get longer. Be getting started in just a few moments.
Julio, I'm not sure if you're aware the councilwoman is here.
Great. Hi, council member. Welcome. We'll have you go in just a few moments.
Hey, Alexa.
Hi.
Julio, I believe we have a quorum now.
Wonderful, thank you. And let's go ahead and get started and not waste any time. Good evening or good afternoon, I'm not sure. Welcome everyone to the December board meeting. My name is Julio Peña III. I'm the chair of Community Board 7, and I'd like to officially call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is calling the meeting to order. I'll turn it to my wonderful colleague, Beverly, for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Like, someone muted her.
Am I muted?
Now you're not.
Okay. Want to start again, folks?
Yeah.
So folks, if you're not speaking right now, please mute yourselves.
I think folks can say the pledge with me if they want to.
They can do that too, but if they're not doing that, they should be muted. Thank you,
Go
Beverly.
ahead, Beverly, I'll join you. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Flag
of the
of
United States of America
of America.
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
one
one nation, under God, indivisible,
and just
liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you,
Beverly.
folks. This is a good time for us to salute the flag, and we're Americans, huh?
That's right.
Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you.
And I'd like to turn it to Maria for the roll call.
Okay, good evening, board members. I will be calling your name. Once I call your name, unmute yourself, say here are present, and please mute yourself once again. Thank you. Ray Acevedo,
Present.
thank you. Amel of Sal,
Present.
thank you. Sandra Alfonso,
Good evening, present.
Thank you. Grisel Amador? Grisel Amador? Grisel, I see you, but I guess maybe you're frozen. All right, I'll go on to the next person. Genesis Aquino?
Here.
Thank you. Nicholas Azadian? Nicholas Azadian? Joan Body?
Yeah.
Thank you. Stacy Boyd? Stacy Boyd? Gladys Bruno?
Present. Hello, everyone.
Thank you. Joseph
welcome.
Canale?
Present.
Thank you. Jerry Chen? Jerry Chen? Justin Collins? Justin Collins? Christina Dawes? Christina Dawes? John DeLuper? John DeLuper? Beatrice Sapio?
Present.
Thank you. David Estrada? David Estrada? Cynthia Felix?
Present.
Thank you. John Fontillis?
I'm here.
Thank you. Kin Fung?
Present.
Thank you. John Garcia? John Garcia? Cynthia Gonzalez? Cynthia Gonzalez? Diana Gonzalez?
Here.
Lucia Gonzalez will not be present this evening.
Okay, is Diana Gonzalez here or not?
Here.
Thank you. Hector Gonzalez?
Here.
Thank you. Kenny Guan?
What is it? I'm at a Zoom meeting. What?
Kenny
Watch
Guan?
my TV.
Nicole Huang?
Yeah.
Thank you. John Johnston? John Johnston? Beverly Kleinman?
Present.
Thank you. Waco?
Yeah.
Thank you. Barbara Lee? Thank you. Christina Lem?
I'm here.
Thank you. Jimmy Lee? Jimmy Lee? Leonette Lopez? Leonette
Present.
Lopez? Thank you.
Present.
Thank you. Paul Mack?
I'm here.
Thank you. Antoinette Martinez? Antoinette Martinez? Aurelis Martinez? Aurelis Martinez? Marilyn Melman?
Here.
Thank you. Myra Molina?
Present.
Thank you. Dan Murphy? Dan Murphy? Julio Pena III?
Present.
Thank you. Rovika Rashkanshan?
Present.
Rovika- Thank
Present.
you. Thank you. Karen Rolnick?
Here.
Thank you. Pat Ruiz?
I'm here.
Thank you. Damaris Santiago?
I'm here.
Thank you. Sam Sierra?
Hi, good evening, present.
Thank you. Victor Swinton?
Present.
Thank you.
Do
Cindy
roll call.
Vandenbosch?
Here.
Thank you. Catherine Walsh?
Present.
Thank you. Cesar Zuniga?
Presente.
Thank you. Grisel Amador?
Present. I have
Thank-
problem, but I am here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Roll call done.
Thank you, Maria.
I had a lengthy conversation with John Johnston. I just want to try him again. John Johnston? Perhaps he stepped away.
Okay, so we'll catch him at the second roll call then.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to adopt?
Thank you. I see Beverly waving to second. The motion to adopt was by Pat. Seeing or hearing no objection, the agenda is adopted. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of the November 16th board meeting?
Motion to adopt.
So motioned by Pat,
Second.
Second.
seconded by Sam Sierra. Seeing or hearing no objection, so adopted. And before we go to public comment, I'd like to welcome the council member, Councilmember Alexa Viles. Thank you for joining us, and I appreciate your patience while we get through some of the, I can't even think of the word, just some of the checkpoints of the meeting. So I'll turn the floor to you, Councilmember. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I was waiting for my name to be called. So I was having a moment of like, why isn't my name being called? Having served on this board. So hello, everyone. Good evening. So glad to see many of your faces and hear your voices. I know it's been a minute. Edward Stern, our Chief of Staff, has certainly been attending CB7 meetings in my place and dutifully reporting on all that is going on. So, but of course, I wanted to be here and see you all personally. Just report on a couple of things. Obviously, it has been a whole year in this tenure as your council member, and I will say it has been quite a busy year. Our staff, I hope you have seen, working diligently on many, many, many issues, as you all know, as the board that engages on all these issues. There is always a lot happening in our district. So I guess before I jump into those details, I should first say thanks to you all, right? Thanks for your service on this board, for all the work that you do. Thank you, Chair Benya, for, another year under our belts as a community. This is a very engaged community board. Thank you to the district manager and to all the CB7 team. It takes an enormous amount of work. So also to remind you all that 2023 applications for community board are open. Actually, folks can go and reapply for reappointment, or also engage your friends in the community and say, how amazing would it be to have, some more support, and really think hard about the places where we could use some additional perspective, right? Even if it's very different, but complementary, so that this board continues to be as representative and diverse as our incredible district. So February 14th, folks, so don't forget, the Brooklyn Borough President holds that line very firmly, as I learned last year in the first round we were doing appointments. So please don't forget to do that. I guess to segue really quickly, I'm not going to dive too deeply into specific policy issues, but of course, I invite you all, and many of you communicate with our office on the regular about specific issues of importance. But I think, the major thing certainly to flag today, we were in a stated meeting at City Council. And, the big struggle that we are truly facing is our city's budget. Just so folks know, this budget year for 23, the city has a $2.3 billion surplus. And despite that surplus, the mayor is proposing a third round of cuts. Now, what you have heard is certainly that with the migrant situation, that this is a very significant situation for our city. I will say I'm so proud to be part of a city that has welcomed individuals and really welcome people with dignity and tried their best, right, in this unprecedented time. I am very proud of all the work of everyone, regular citizens, all of you who've contributed to the local shelter that we have here with families who are migrants. The cost has been significant. Thankfully, the state and the federal government had not reimbursed the city for the costs, right, of addressing the situation. Finally, the federal government is moving resources back to the city, right, to help offset those costs. But the truth of the matter is that the cuts the mayor has been proposing cuts since January. One of the primary reasons why I voted no on the budget. And so we are on a third round of potential pegs, while we have city agencies that have 20% vacancy rates, critical service agencies, right, that provide safety net, social services. And so we are really at a critical point where we need to invest in those agencies and make sure we have a workforce that can do the critical services, and also provide, funding for those services, right? Both within the government and in the social and the health and human services network, who are truly critical to like our community's everyday existence, right? Everything from after school to food distribution to mental health service provision. I mean, everything that touches our community members' lives. So our big battle truly is calling on the mayor to not do unnecessary cuts and to really stop this austerity politic that we have, where we're cutting despite having a surplus. And so, as we move into budget season, the reason why I bring this up today is because we received a budget modification mid-year that is shifting resources and making an extraordinary amount of cuts to public schools, to CUNY, to libraries, just in ways that are just truly unacceptable. So I wanted you all to know that, I'm there as a representative of this community, fighting really hard to make sure that resources that we depend on so significantly are not cut, that we have the resources to provide, and we should be fiscally prudent in a way that is responsible and still provides what we need, because we can do that as a city. So, this will be unfurling as over the next couple of months, and I will definitely be reaching out to all of you around, the things that we feel are a priority, right, to help ensure that I'm reflecting the clear needs of this community and the direction that it wants to go in. So we'll be having more conversations certainly over this next couple of months, but it just, the fiscal outlook is certainly not great. So, there's going to be some hard discussions to be had around what the climate is going to be. Nevertheless, I think there's a good amount of leadership that is truly fighting for, working class folks and neighborhoods and the services that we so desperately need. So, I think maybe I'll just mention, two other things, and then I want to give you all the time that you need, because I know you have a packed agenda, and I hope to see many of you later at Loren, and happy to answer any more questions. But, obviously there's a lot going on in terms of infrastructure, all the BQE conversations, the bus redesign, our continued challenge with the infrastructure in the neighborhood, services. We are all diligently working on all these things. Last mile facilities, we hope to have a package of some legislation hitting in January. It has been a tough slog. Environmental issues, I mean, you kind of name it. Today, I was happy that a good number of bills were introduced supporting our disabled New Yorkers, right, to make sure that they get access to better services, more language justice in our city. I mean, we've had fires in the district, and, it was very difficult to get Mandarin speakers. And a city of our size with such a population as large, our staff should not be manually translating emergency documents that the city has, right? Those things should be done already. So we have a lot of work to do. We are committed to continuing to do that. And just want to thank you for your partnership, your patience, and your push, right? I think when things are moving slow, I definitely hear from you all around wanting to know what is happening and why things are not moving as quickly, or, just trying to work to get things unstuck. So thanks again. Happy to answer any questions. And I want to wish you all a happy holiday. We're not out of COVID. You've seen the trifecta of RSV, the flu, the cold, whatever other bugs are out there and COVID. So please continue to mask up and be safe. And I hope you all have a really wonderful holiday. So thank you. And I'll leave it there. I could talk for probably 5 hours.
Thank you, Council Member. I appreciate it. Are there any questions from board members? Christina Lem, go ahead.
Hi, Alexa. It's been a long time. I actually do have a quick question. When you talk about the budget surplus, it's a projected $2 billion surplus. When will the actual reconciliation, the true numbers, be coming in?
So you ask a great question, and I wish I could see your face, Christina. So, you know, what's fascinating, and I'm not going to get into too much detail here, is that even in the modification documents, the administration is not recognizing all the revenues that are in. So there's some political games being played around truly what is happening and when it's going to get released. So, you know, I think I could say that City Council Finance is mystified that those revenues are not clearly put in the documents, and wondering when they're going to get released and why they're being withheld. So soon, I think that we're still forensically going through a lot of the documentation, but there was a huge surplus in terms of revenues that were actually collected during the year, more than they originally thought.
Okay, but there's an account watchdog group on top of this right now, trying to get them to release those numbers?
A good number of people. So I don't know, you know, I think when I'm thinking I don't know if Citizens Union is the one that's bird dogging it as much, but certainly I can tell you from the inside, right? Council Finance is going back and forth with the admin, and that this is why there's such a rejection of the austerity budget modification in November plan that was just recently put out by the mayor. So there's a lot of things that are not making sense and look more like political calculations than actually, you know, funding programs and really addressing critical needs.
Okay, thank you. You don't see my face because my place is a mess. So next time.
Cindy?
Hi, Alexa. So you mentioned the proposal to reduce the service on the bus routes, and I'm just wondering, I know I've heard from neighbors and people in the district, especially older adults, people with disabilities, you know, families that use the bus on a regular basis. They're going to be the most sort of affected by this if it goes through. And I'm just wondering what your office is doing to address this issue, and how, you know, potentially, you know, what you think could be done to kind of reverse some of those changes.
Yeah, so we actually have been pushing the MTA to get a clear briefing on what that full plan and its implications look like, right, for the whole district. Obviously, you know, we're concerned about Red Hook too, right, who is only dependent on buses. They don't have access to subways. So we're going to be getting a briefing. I mean, I think what we'll do is when we see the full scope of the proposal, I think we're going to have to report back to everybody and say, this is truly what's on the table. And we're going to have to fight, you know, for reinstatement. I don't know where we're going to have to compromise on the route. That's why on all the routes, because I don't know the full scope of it yet. But I think it's a little bit of, you know, having to report back and say, all right, this is the full scope, and what is to collectively decide what is our plan of action on pushing back to restore the lines. Because you're right. I mean, it always impacts the most vulnerable. It was part of the fight with 7th and 8th Avenue when, you know, part of the plan was to remove all these bus stops that would impact our seniors and folks with disabilities who really depend on the buses. So I'm a huge advocate of the buses and making sure that we have like full service. In fact, some of you may have heard, my fantasy is actually to have a pilot of free bus network in Red Hook to prove, like other cities have done this, where, you know, they've done in low-income neighborhoods, do free provision of public bus service. They see ridership go up, they see quality of service go up, and people are really like into it. I would love for our city to have a free bus service entirely. We're not there yet, and obviously we have revenue issues that we need to contend with, but this is also part of a statewide campaign that you may have seen called Fix the MTA. The revenue source right now depends too much on riders, as opposed to figuring out a more stable financial source that wouldn't require the fares to keep going up and up, despite feeling like the service is not up to par. So I guess that's a long way of saying, Cindy, I'll get back to you. I think it's going to be, a collective advocacy effort to let our folks know this is really what's happening, and this is how it will impact you and how we can collectively push back.
Thank you. And we'll take one more question from Genesis.
Hi, all. Hi, Alexa.
Hi.
I just wanted to, I know the mayor, I just wanted to hear your comments about the housing plan and how that may, impact our community.
Housing plan. There is no plan, is the short of it, right? I think actually one of the things that, I don't know how many of you have attended, but the Brooklyn Borough President has initiated some conversation about a comprehensive plan for Brooklyn, right? What that would look like in order to provide health outcomes. In fact, he's collecting comments and have started putting out health indicators. One of the things that we were interested in doing is, I know this board has done an enormous amount of work, right, related to certainly Industry City and 197A plan and time before it, around in this new context, what is a framework that works for us around development? Particularly as we move into a mayor who's really interested in, and the governor, we're going to see a governor's plan for housing that I think is, I'm concerned about. I've heard murmurings, I haven't seen the whole plan. The mayor's plan, like many of his plans, has very little details, like very broad strokes. There's some concerning things around public process, right? And when the public gets to engage and determine what developments go into their neighborhoods, anything that removes the community voice from development and housing is very concerning to me. We all know the impacts of that, right? So I have a lot of concerns, and we want to work over this next year to develop a framework that is owned by all of us. So one of the things we'll be doing early next year is reaching out certainly to John and the Land Use Committee to begin having those conversations around what is a framework that we could stand by in terms of development and housing within the district, and to do that work together. But I'm concerned, Genesis, like you, that we'll continue to see, market rate units and continued displacement. I have been very vocal about the need for senior housing, the need for true affordable low-income housing. What is affordable is not affordable in our community related to our income. And we've seen that because we've seen our neighbors get pushed out further and further away. So more to come on that. Very concerned. And I will just say the last thing. I'm sorry to be long-winded. I want to answer the question as best as I can. The other thing that we want to engage on as well that I'm deeply concerned about is the industrial manufacturing sector. We have been in conversation with the Department of City Planning, with the mayor's office about our interest in making sure that industrial land is for industrial uses, and that there is all kind of opportunities and ways to make sure that we have economic development that works for us, and not for people on the outside, first and foremost. And we're getting a lot of pushback there because he wants, the mayor is interested in a city of yes. And I'm like, yes to what? Like, how about yes to things that work for us first and foremost? So it's a real challenge.
Okay, I have another question. Will your office be providing workshops or hosting workshops for the community on the council's newly released land use and housing guidelines?
Yeah, absolutely. And the speaker just put out kind of her own guideline framework around that, how all of these are going to fit together and what the governor is going to try to do, who's also interested. I think she's more interested in trying to eliminate some of the local land use issues in the suburbs, although that implicates New York City. So we'll see exactly what the tenor of that is going to be. But absolutely, we've done a lot of housing rights workshops in the neighborhood for a lot of the residents that have come in with kind of tenant protection situation, but we're going to start to increase the land use, and particularly what is going to happen with this plan. There's still a lot in flux.
Thank you. And thank you, council member, for joining. And we'll see you after the meeting, hopefully. Before we go on to public comment, I'm going to ask Cindy if she can share her screen for the agenda. The first public comment is for items on the agenda. So we have four committees, reporting tonight: education, youth, public safety, sanitation and environment, and special subcommittee on last mile trucking. So the public comment, if there are any members of the public who wish to comment on items on the agenda, you may do so now by raising your hand. Last call. You may do so now by raising your hand. Seeing no hands, I will now go to committee reports. Education and Youth Committee, we have no vote. So unless Cesar has any additional comments, seeing
no additional comments, just apologies to the staff for turning in the report late, but I did turn it in, and I'll just refer everyone to the report. Thank you. And staff, my pledge to become better about being more timely. So apologies.
Thank you, Cesar. Turning over to the Public and Safety Committee, also no vote required. And unless the chair has any additional comments.
Hi, thank you. No, I'll defer to the report, but since Alexa is here, we did have something on the use of the batteries, Alexa, for the e-bikes. And I want to thank you because I know you voted, you deferred for NYCHA not to have the bikes there, the e-bike stored there due to concerns about taking away people's means for living. But I do know that there are certain, some legislation coming up on particularly selling used batteries or batteries that are not regulated. So if you just could keep us updated on that as we move forward, that would be appreciated, because we know there were several fires in the community due to that. And I would just defer to everyone to please look at the attachments FDNY sent on fire safety in general, and particularly for the holidays and for e-bikes. And we did not get to meet with the warden. We do have a meeting, Jeremy, in January with him, right? And hopefully he'll come to a future meeting.
And for those of you who didn't see, Jeremy had a thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. The Sanitation and Environment, Sanitation and Environment Committee, we do have a vote this evening, and I see Joe. Joe, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, we have a vote on approving a letter in support of a small business that wants to operate a redemption bottle and can center in the district. So I have a very brief report I'll read, and then we can open it up for questions and then the vote. Okay, so our committee meeting met on December 13th. We heard a presentation from a company called United Redemption, a small mom and pop Brooklyn-based business. It's actually more mom than pop. It's a woman-owned business. United Redemption seeks a letter of approval from the board to operate a plastic and can redemption center at 84 18th Street. The NYSDEC is requiring that this small business obtain a letter of support from CB7 before approving their application. United Redemption is a family-owned and an immigrant-owned small business. This small business currently operates a redemption facility in Bensonhurst. The Sunset Park facility, where they have already signed a lease, is 3,500 square feet and will employ 4 to 5 persons and operate 1 cargo van, which will be used to pick up redeemable bottles and cans in Brooklyn and Staten Island, I think they said. Other traffic, parking, and truck impacts. There is anticipated to be a once-a-week vendor pickup at the 18th Street site. This truck is usually the size of a standard UPS delivery truck. The intended site was formerly an auto parts warehouse. The company cargo van will be parked inside. The site has loading bays, so no trucks will be parked on the street during pickups. We believe this new business does not increase truck traffic in the area along the waterfront. The first block of 18th Street is a dead-end street, non-residential and zoned industrial. The bottles and cans will be hand sorted and will not be cleaned. Now, the committee voted unanimously to write a letter of approval with the caveat that United Redemption not contribute to the traffic, pollution, and safety issues associated with last mile trucking facilities in the district. So that's my report. Any questions?
Thank you, Joe. Did the committee vote on the letter?
We did. We voted unanimously to write a letter of approval with language in there about our concerns about the traffic pollution and safety impacts of trucks.
Thank you, Joe. Questions from board members? I see Catherine Walsh.
I have a quick question about something that you just said at the end of the letter, which is around the request to not have them contribute to trucking. This is something I'm just not aware of. Do they, for something like this, do they have to tell us how many trucks they expect to go in and out on a daily basis and what kind of trucks those will be?
Well, yeah, for their entire fleet will consist of 1 cargo van, which will be driving around the borough and Staten Island picking up. They won't be picking up the redeemable bottles themselves, but rather picking up from people who have picked them up, if that makes sense. Now, on the other end, the vendors such as Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they drive to their site and pick up what has been accumulated. The owners claim it's probably no more than once a week. And the size of the truck, they claim is the size of a standard UPS delivery truck. Also, where this business is going to operate was a auto repair warehouse, auto parts warehouse. So there was already truck traffic, and there might in fact be less truck traffic with this business.
Yeah, it was just questions around with, like, we're not sure how many trips per day, but you're saying it's 1 vehicle fleet.
Yes. But it's a very small vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, we
She
can't-
said it's about the size of a U-Haul truck, a small U-Haul truck. The
Yes,
larger
yes.
trucks would only be doing they claim a once a week pickup.
Thanks. Yeah, and we're not in the business of penalizing small businesses when what we need is a comprehensive truck study, which Department of Transportation has not given this community. So it was just to kind of get a sense, but I really appreciate it. Thank you for the information.
Sure.
Dan Murphy, who just put his hand down. Victor Swinton.
John, didn't they mention that the companies don't come in until they get a certain amount of bottles for them to pick up?
Yeah, that's right. That's true. She said, though, they have the other facility in Bensonhurst. She said, usually it works out to be about one pickup a week. We also asked them if there had been any complaints from residents who live near the other facility in Bensonhurst, and they said that there haven't been. So.
Thank you, Joe. And Dan Murphy's hand is back up.
Thank you very much. Well, I just want to see you paying attention to it. Thanks. I just want to say, Joe, first off, I say if we ever hold meetings in person again, I vote for holding them in Joe's living room. I would also like to say that I am in full support of this motion because anyone who walks around this neighborhood sees these folks picking up our garbage, picking through our garbage to recycle these cans. This is an environmental positive, and because the city doesn't recycle as much as we'd like them to. They're industrious. They are, they work to essentially they're working in an informal economy and making it work. We have a redemption center already on 48th and 3rd Avenue that is not an issue, and it is a good use for this site. It is what this site is supposed to be used for, businesses like this. So I am in full support of this, and that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Any other questions from board members? Okay, I would like to call the vote. And I like to do this by unanimous consent if there are no objections. Seeing or hearing no objection, the motion passes unanimously with the recommendations from the committee. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
So what will be the process for writing the letter?
My assumption is we'll take the recommendations from the committee and we'll craft a letter with the board.
Okay, this is sort of timely because they signed a lease for January 1st, I think. So,
John, I will have it done. I'm sorry, Joe, I will have it done by Tuesday.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next committee, the Special Subcommittee on Last Mile Trucking Facilities. There is no vote required, but I do know Katie did want to make some quick comments. So Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we had a meeting on Monday, and thanks to Natasha to getting the notes out. There's a lot in there, so I would encourage you to look at those meeting minutes. The things that I just wanted to highlight, we haven't met, the Special Subcommittee on Last Mile Trucking Facilities hasn't met in about 6 months, and a lot has happened in that period of time. And so what I just wanted to rewind briefly to say that this board had been invited to join in a special text amendment submission to the Department of City Planning. We, as a committee back in May, had voted to support that, but first with a review, of a legal review. That wasn't something we were able to get. We were not able to get a legal review. But one of the things that came out of us presenting this to the full board in May was a request to make sure that the Industrial Jobs Coalition had been engaged and had looked at the special text amendment. So on June 1st, that's the last time this committee had met. Last mile trucking facility meeting on June 1st, there was a meeting that was hosted with the Industrial Jobs Coalition, as well as the Last Mile Coalition that was working on the special text. There was a discussion, feedback, all of that, of course, is publicly available through the board, all of the above. But what came out of that was another discussion that happened later in June, where the text was updated. So this is to sort of reflect back to the board. That was something that you all asked for. Our committee advanced, helped facilitate, and what ended up coming out of that is a revised text. So the text that just went out to everybody, it did go ahead. It was submitted. The special text amendment was submitted. We didn't join because they were, again, at the time looking to submit it. And of course, we were all off for the summer. Well, the board members were. And so that special text amendment went in September, and now it's in front of Department of City Planning. So you can take a look at that. There are some notes in there around, how to deal with facilities that are already there. There were questions also around food producers, moving food. That's been addressed. So I really want to encourage you to look at those minutes. So the meeting that we had on Monday was summarizing a lot of the work that's happened since the committee started in April of 2021 under Cesar Zuniga. It had kicked that off. And what we're anticipating doing is moving the work that started there, that has really catalyzed and convened a lot of critical legislation. Really excited, we heard a little bit about it again from Councilmember Aviles, but at the state level, Assemblywoman Mateñas, looking at Last Mile Coalition, Special Text Amendment, a lot of discussions and movement. And we're going to bring that back into the Transportation Committee, which in partnership with John DeLuper have started chairing over the last couple months. So we're going to continue to push on last mile trucking. This is all integrated to some other updates I'll have in a minute actually on the BQE that I just wanted to offer to everybody. But that would be basically what we're looking at is probably having one more meeting early in the new year of the special committee, and then continuing that work by way of the Transportation Committee. So huge thank you to everybody who was involved along the way, who got involved, basically 2 years back. There's a lot in there that you can look at from the minutes of everything that we've accomplished. But we haven't addressed the fact that these facilities are still going up left and right, and that we're still dealing with the traffic and congestion and air quality. So this is something that we are going to continue to push on. So I will just pause there. I do have an update or two that John DeLuper, who can't make it tonight to the board meeting, who's the vice chair for transportation, he did want me to bring to the board, but should I pause, Julia, to see if there's anything you wanted to add or any questions?
Sure thing. Thank you, Katie, for the summary. Yeah, if there are any questions from board members. Well, all good. Thank you, Katie.
Great. Okay, I'm going to do quick on transportation. So just to share with folks that, Councilmember Aviles had already talked about this a little bit, but so John is now a volunteer member, but was selected to join as a community board member for the BQE Visioning Council. But these meetings, but the broader BQE Visioning Corridor meetings are open to the public, and we absolutely all should be showing up. There was one a couple weeks ago that we talked about in the last board meeting, but the next ones are coming up in February. But the main points that I wanted to communicate here is that John had attended the meeting that was focused on BQE Revisioning Central. So that was just last week, and that is in the city-owned portion of the BQE, which is the triple cantilever, which you are reading all about from Atlantic Avenue to Sands. Just so everyone knows, we are in the state-owned part of the BQE, right? But the city-owned part of the BQE, if you can believe it, is down on the triple cantilever. Okay, so in the meeting, items that were discussed in that big visioning meeting about Atlantic Avenue to Sands were discussions about covering portions of the highway, how many lanes will be redesigned in the road, and changes to specific intersections. You've probably read the news, but basically, one of the points about that being prioritized is because it's basically at a position of completely falling apart. And so that has been sort of rank ordered in terms of priority, focusing on BQE Central. It is unclear how these changes will affect our district. And then, of course, the agency worries that without repairs and traffic on feeder roads and local roads like we have, will increase. So this is a call to everybody, to make sure that you come and show up at the BQE South meetings that we have in March, but you can also show up to the BQE Central meetings like John attended, to talk about how this is going to impact our district. So we'll make sure that gets out. And then the last item was also mentioned by Councilmember Aviles, which is around the MTA Brooklyn bus redesign. There was an informational session in early December about this. The MTA is revising bus routes, and a lot of the limited routes are being consolidated and stop locations are changing. We really want to encourage you to attend the workshops on the design. Of course, we will be there as championing transportation issues for our district, but everyone, please, if you can make it. The workshop related to Community Board 7 is Tuesday, January 31st. And I will also provide a link, and we'll make sure that everyone gets this information in the email updates that go out from the board. And John just wanted to make a point that he had participated in some of these discussions that happened in the Bronx, and rider feedback was incorporated into the final redesign. So as Councilmember Avila said, it's really important we give feedback now, and that our voices are collectively heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And just to reiterate, if you did look at the bus redesign plan, there are some changes, particularly along the B63, the B35, and the B70, which are all bus routes in Sunset Park. So we will be sharing lots of information around that redesign plan. I will now turn it to Maria for the second roll call of the evening.
Okay, so now I will be calling the names of those board members that were not present at the original roll call. Nicholas Azadian. Stacy Boyd. Jerry Chan. Justin Collins. Christina Das.
Present.
Thank you. John DeLuper. David Estrada. John Garcia. Cynthia Gonzalez. Kenny Guan. John Johnston.
Present.
Thank you. Jimmy Lee. Antoinette Martinez.
Present.
Thank you. Arelis Martinez. Dan Murphy.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, second roll call done.
Thank you, Maria. Now for our elected officials report, which I will turn it to Natasha. Would you go on my screen?
Good
Hey.
evening, everyone. I'd like to call on Emmett Mendoza Gaspar, representing Assemblymember Marcela Matena's office. Emmett, if you're still on, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yep.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Amit. I am the Chief of Staff for Assemblymember Marcela Matena's. Thank you so much, Community Board and Chair, for inviting us to talk. Just want to give everyone an update that we are in the middle of transitioning into the new year. And just wanted to highlight some of the things that we've done as a state office to help fight for the constituents of this district. This includes in the past 2 years in our first term, being able to increase the revenue in our state by about $4.5 billion, which has been pretty historic given that for a long time our state hasn't been able to increase our revenue through mechanisms that didn't impact working class, middle class constituents. Second thing is that we want to highlight is that we're really excited that we were able to push for creation of a student workers fund that helped to put money into the pockets of working class immigrant community members in our district in a time when a lot of them were being excluded from receiving financial aid. In our first term in office, we've also been able to serve a total of 4,100 constituents through our constituent services, outreach, as well as community events. This includes 2,700 in our second year in 2022. Unfortunately, one of the biggest issues that we're seeing now, especially this year, and that's the economy is slowly coming towards us into a light recession. We're seeing housing and food insecurity becoming the number one issue for a lot of people who we're servicing in our district office. Thirdly, we're happy that we were able to get more additional funding for our night shift communities here through the state budget, through additional funding for capital funding, but we're still pushing for operational costs. A couple of things that we're actively doing in communities is that we're actively going out in the neighborhood and door knocking at people's households to let them know about their rights as tenants. We're targeting both people who live in rent stabilized buildings, but also doing outreach to folks who live in who are unregulated as well, and share them information such as know your rights, but also existing resources such as the emergency rental assistance program, which has helped a lot of people in their district be able to pay the rent arrears that they owe to their leasing leaser, which has also helped a lot of homeowners as well who have been struggling to get their renters to pay rent as well. Not sure what I needed. That for the new year, there's a couple of things that we want to continue to focus on. And the first thing we want to continue to focus on is making sure that we continue to expand our state's revenue source in ways that doesn't impact the pockets and the living expenses of working class, middle class workers. And this means also trying to pass as much legislation that will also be able to help fight against the rising cost of inflation, rent, gas, and utilities. One of the key priorities for office is passing the indirect source rule, which will help regulate last mile sources of emissions, especially as they've been popping up a lot recently in Red Hook and in Sunset Park. We're working with a coalition members of upstate and downstate organizations and state partners to help address this issue. And we're going to have our first meeting in the start of the new session in January. And we're going to include people and organizations that represent part of the Bronx. Recently reached out to organizations in Queens, and we're really excited about possible collaborations with organizations and services as well. Part of this organization, this coalition, will include New York Renews, Electrify New York, Uprose is involved, Earth Justice, as well as NISHA, and a couple of more. The selecting party for office going into the legislative session is to pass good cause eviction and other pieces of housing legislations that will help improve the already existing effects that we're seeing on people's rents. Other examples of housing related legislation that we're going to be focused on is passing HDVP, which is the Housing Assistance Voucher Program, that will enable people who are on the brink of possible eviction or unhoused find funding to be able to actually acquire permanent housing. And this is one of the ways that we want to address our current existing shelter issue that is impacting a lot of working class communities in the city. As we all know right now, our shelters are at a breaking point, and we also have families who've been in the shelter system for quite a long time. So by passing HDP, we hope to utilize this to get people to move out of the shelter system into actual dignified affordable housing as well. The third piece of housing legislation that we want to prioritize in the coming year is the Honda bill, which is a house our neighbors of Dignity Act, which will allow the state the ability to convert empty state properties, unoccupied or underoccupied hotel spaces, and actually utilize state funding to create affordable homes for our unhoused and people who are looking for housing as well. And the last piece of housing legislation that our office is carrying, which Marcella herself is the prime co-sponsor of, is the Tenant Opportunity Purchase Act, which will allow tenants the first right of refusal to be providing them the ability, financial assistance to purchase their homes or their houses if the landlord decides to sell it or put it up in the market. We know that there's a lot of affordable units, affordable housing buildings in the neighborhood, which are needed to be preserved in the long run, in addition to also creating new housing. And this bill will allow us to preserve some of those units for a long run as well. In regards to environmental justice related policies that we're pushing, I already mentioned the direct source rule, but another one that we want to push as well is the Build Clean Renewables Act, which will enable New York's Power Authority to not only create, but also distribute gas, utilities such as gas and energy, directly to the constituents of the state. And this, as a lot of people have already known recently, utility costs have come up by a lot. And recently there are discussions about possibly increasing these rates even more going into the year by enabling our New York Power Authority NYPA to be able to not only generate, create, but also distribute and sell utilities directly to constituents and to the people of New York. This will help drive the cost of utilities down and also put more money back into the pockets of working class and middle-class New Yorkers as well. In regards to what's going on with the BQE.
Emmett, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just asking if you can wrap up.
Of course. The BQE, we're working diligently on that. We recently spoke to Congress member Dan Goldman's office, and we're going to start looping them into the conversations that we're having here related to CB7 Sunset Park. And lastly, I'm looking forward to seeing some of you guys, so hopefully most of you guys at the holiday social after this meeting. So if any more questions, any other concerns, I'll be there to answer them as well. And we wish you all Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Emmett. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Next, I'd like to call on John Watkins from the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. John, if you're still here, please unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening, everyone. In the interest of time and respect to the other elected reps, I'll be very concise. First of all, DA Gonzalez, since his well wishes, this is a very important time of the year with the holidays. He, as well as the whole team at the DA's office, is very active out in the community at all types of different events, and also, of course, in the courts representing the people of the borough. This past weekend, DA Gonzalez hosted, along with our partners in the NYPD, a gun buyback effort, and which was very, very successful, with over 100 guns taken off the streets. And this is just an ongoing effort to get these weapons out of the hands of potential criminals, and also from victims such as kids who might be rambling through grandparents' closets and so forth. The other thing is, please go to our website, brooklyndA.org, and check out our press releases. A couple of weeks ago, there was a cold case file that was prosecuted. A young man who was shot and killed by another young man over 10 years ago was finally brought to justice and sentenced. So that information, as well as many other of the efforts of our offices, is on our website. So I please encourage you to go there. And lastly, DA Gonzalez, yesterday, it was the eighth year of the unfortunate murders of NYPD officers Ramos and Liu, and he memorialized them with a special mention. That's all I have to say. Best wishes to everyone for happy holidays and the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And I just want to say, at the gun buyback event that the DA had this week, I believe it was the most guns returned at any event that the DA had in Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
It exceeded all expectations. Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julio, that's it for my elected official list.
Thank you. Are there any other elected official representatives who have not spoken?
We have Jessica Callow from Borough President's Office.
Great, Jessica, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica. I'm from the Borough President Reynos's office. I can't seem to figure out how to work my camera, so I'm sorry that everyone can't see me. I'll make it really quick. I want to remind everybody that community board applications are open. Council member already did that for me, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you haven't reapplied, please reapply. If you're interested in getting on the board, please go to our website and apply. Also, we have our State of the Borough coming up. It's really an amazing event. There hasn't been too many of them, so it's very historic. It's the State of the Borough is taking place on January 10th at 6:30 p.m. on at City Tech. So please RSVP on our website if you're interested in coming. I really recommend it to anybody that can come. And also, the Borough President has if you haven't already heard, the Borough President has a huge maternal health agenda. And part of that agenda is having a campaign on a healthy pregnancy, which I'm not going to bore everybody about it, but if you want to read about it, it's on our website. We also started an initiative for baby boxes. So we've sent 500 Born in Brooklyn baby boxes, which have essentials for when a baby is born. We sent 500 of those to new parents this season. So we're very excited about that and continuing that. And it's all part of his maternal health agenda. So other than that, I wish everybody a happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And is that a question, Pat? Go ahead. Oh, Pat, we can't hear you. No, still can't hear you. Oh, wait, there we go.
You sign out and sign back in. Sometimes that helps. You may not have connected initially.
Oh, we can hear you now, Pat.
Oh, okay. My question is for Jessica. Jessica, the reappointment applications, are they reviewed once received, or do you wait for the deadline for all reappointment applications to be submitted?
I know normally we kind of wait till the deadline, but that has not really worked out well for us. I think in the past, because we are always missing the mark on appointing people. So I think this year we're gonna try reviewing them as they come in for reappointments. Appointments aren't made until after the February 14th deadline, but at least we're able to see whether or not you've sent one in, and or if you're still missing one, or if we never received it.
Okay, thank you. I'm just checking because I did submit mine early, so I'm just was curious about the process. Thank you.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Thank you.
If anybody wants my phone number, you're more than happy to call me. More than welcome to call me. I could put that in the chat. Chair, is that right?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, moving along on the agenda. I am going to table the chair's report tonight. And I will turn to Jeremy.
Good evening, everybody. I want to wish you all happy holidays, happy new year. We all know how much I love the sound of my own voice, so my gift to all of you is brevity tonight. I just have 2 items. First, I want to let you know that in consultation with Julio and Cynthia Jeffers, who is the chair of our Public Safety Committee, we have written to the Street Activity Permit Office and the 72nd Precinct, and we have withdrawn the Community Board from the approval process for block parties. This is because other agencies have been quite lax on their own rules, and we no longer know how to explain to constituents why rules apply to some blocks but not to others. So we will leave it to those agencies to explain that to our constituents. This is not unprecedented. Community Board 1 has also removed itself from block party applications. I want to, every December, I put Natasha on the spot and to thank her for her efforts for the holiday gift drive. We are once again hosting it, and we thank everybody who's donated this year. Griselle, we will be at the, this year we've rented a van to get to the United Senior Citizen Center, who every year is our top donor. So we will be picking up from them tomorrow morning. If you have a couple of hours Thursday or Friday, and you could help us sort toys, we would greatly appreciate your assistance. I guess we could collect until tomorrow morning, but technically today is the last day for us to collect. We will be providing at least one and hopefully more toys to every child in our every homeless shelter and domestic violence shelter in our district. Liquor license applications since last month. There are 6 new or renewal applications available for anybody who wishes to look. And police department statistics, CompStat has been shared with everybody. Thank you all. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any old business this evening? Any new business this evening? Griselle.
Hi. Tomorrow we're going to celebrate Christmas and senior birthday. We're going to have live music. We're going to have a show with Santa Claus' wife and also with the Santa Claus. We're also going to have tomorrow a clothes drive in conjunction with the Brooklyn Rise School. And also we're ready, Jeremy, with all the gifts for tomorrow. So I wait for you tomorrow. We're ready, okay? So everybody have a special invitation tomorrow. January 6th, we're gonna have Three Kings celebration in conjunction with Boricua Festival and Pat Ruiz. And also with Melissa. So everybody has a special invitation also for that day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Griselle.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, everybody.
Katie?
Thanks. I just wanted to raise some new business, and then if Dan or Dave or Stratter on the line, they can jump in. But I just wanted to make sure that this board was aware of the fact that the Equinor Offshore Wind Ecosystem Fund launched. I didn't attend the meeting, but maybe others here did. I just wanted to call everyone's focus to that because I know that there are several people who are on the board who were on the Sunset Park Task Force, and this is part of the Sunset Park Task Force, the New York Economic Development Corporation, and Equinor. The reason I'm very aware of this is funds that are meant to and kind of be in service of a lot of the goals that this community board has talked about. I really want to make sure that we have continues to be transparency and understanding of what this fund is, and decision making and more so applications. There's a selection committee. Again, I think a couple of board members might be on the selection committee, and the selection committee is going to work with Equinor, is going to work with New York Economic Development Corporation, and citywide organizations can apply for this fund. So There is, and I'll leave it to, again, the Waterfront and Economic Development Committee to talk about it. So there was an information session that happened in November about how to apply. I think funding is between $100,000 and $900,000. But again, others can talk about it here. So there was this informational session. It is now available. You can listen to the recording on the website. And then also the Economic Development Committee is going to host another session with the fund in February, and applications are due in April. And this is a pretty, like meaty application that will take a process to go through. So please, this should be in service of our community, of our diverse community. We should be aware, we should be engaged, we should be talking about this. You can spread information about the fund for folks to be able to engage on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I know we've talked about this board a lot about the waterfront and ways that we can get involved in, particularly around the offshore wind project. And I encourage people to participate in and attend the meeting in February when it's announced. Cynthia Felix.
Hi, I just want to thank Natasha for going back in after she was dressed and ready to leave to take my toy donation. I went in at the last minute today. So thank you, Natasha, for that. And then also the Sunset Park Lions Club, we will be having our annual Three Kings Day celebration Saturday, January 7th, Fiesta de los Tres Reyes Magos in OLPH. Families are welcome. If you know of any family who would like tickets, you could email me and we could arrange for them to get tickets. Adults don't need tickets, and you're welcome to come see this back to in-person celebration. We'll have food, rosca de reyes, toys for the children, and some music and dancing, and a visit from the Three Kings and Santa. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. And now our last public comment of the evening. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Sean Santor. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your work on behalf of the community, and my best wishes to all for the new year. My name is John Santor. I'm not on Community Board 7, but I'm a community member of 2 committees, and I've taken minutes from one of them since 2021. I'd like to offer the following suggestions, which I believe would help CB7 generally and all those who interact with it. To begin, I'm requesting that the CB7 Executive Committee meet publicly with committee chairs to discuss the operating procedures of committees. Questions to explore include: how often do the committees meet and how often are they expected to meet? How are committee agendas chosen? Do committees follow through on the things that they say they will do? And if so, how quickly do they do so? Second, I believe the board should examine if committee members are communicating with each other and whether the public is communicating with committees and chairs. For example, can committee members talk to each other and share ideas for upcoming meetings? Can members of the public reliably get messages to committee members? If so, how often is this happening? If not, why isn't it happening? My personal belief is that all committees should be meeting regularly and should be setting agendas with the full and timely input of community and committee members and community members who would hopefully be talking to each other on a regular basis. I also think that the public should be able to reach committee members and chairs easily with ideas, suggestions, and concerns. Third, I'd like to encourage this board to find ways to make all of its documents available online, minutes, presentations, and other information the public should have access to. I appreciate that board staffers respond to document requests, but I believe posting all documents publicly online would improve public understanding of the board's work. If an impediment to this is a lack of control over the board's website, that can be worked around by posting documents to a shared drive and linking to that drive on another website, such as friendsofcb7.com, which is still active. And I happily volunteer to make this happen. Finally, I encourage CB7 to demand far more information and engagement from city agencies and elected officials. New York City Economic Development Corporation collects data on the tenants and workforce of the Brooklyn Army Terminal, but it doesn't release that data publicly. The Department of Small Business Services collects data on the Workforce One Center at Brooklyn Army Terminal, but it doesn't release the data publicly. The Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment collects data on the film industry training programs it runs, but it won't release the data publicly. When CB7 requested this data a year and a half ago, 2 of the requests were completely ignored, and 1 was responded to with a letter that failed to disclose existing data. Meanwhile, some elected officials engage this board regularly, others don't. Diane Savino, the former state senator, endorsed the Made in New York campus, yet I rarely, if ever, spoke to this community. Jerry Nadler represented the entire working waterfront in Sunset Park and Red Hook for years, but rarely spoke to this community. I believe that these realities are unacceptable in a democratic society, and CB7 should no longer accept them. And thank you very much for your time and work, and I hope to be able to work with you in the future.
Thank you, John. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? Seeing none, I see Jimmy, you have your hand up.
Hi, Julio. Happy holiday, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. I missed the roll call. Jeremy, can I be marked as present? Thank you.
Your attendance will be marked.
Thank you. He contacted me about a half hour ago, but he's been patiently waiting.
Seeing as there are no other items on the agenda, I will encourage everyone to attend our after party at Loren, our holiday party. If I don't see you, please enjoy the holiday, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus for the rest of us, and enjoy the New Year and Three Kings Day. And if not, I will hope to see you in a few minutes. Enjoy the holiday.
Julio, for people that don't know where it is, could you give the address or describe the location?
Of course. Thank you, Cindy. It is Loren, 4004 Fifth Avenue. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. See you all in 2023.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Good
Happy
night.
holidays. Felicidades. Felicidades.